Nope. Alright, says we're live. I don't know if we actually are, though. So I'll wait a few minutes for everyone to filter in as usual. Hello, everyone. Can you hear both of us?
There we go.
Alright, hopefully they can hear you. Oh, whatever viewers we had just left. It's back down to 0.
Yeah, I need to post it everywhere.
Alright, I'll wait a little bit for people to filter in then. Okay, yeah, the number's jumping up. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? And Deox.
Hello.
Poodles. Alright, we're getting poodles already. Toodles and poodles, everyone.
Let's see, so now I think most people...
Alright, yeah, it looks like people are filtering in, and I think once again, as usual, we're like almost a minute ahead of everyone. I'm only just seeing people now saying they can hear, but... Alrighty, so I guess 2 heads ups. One, Deox might vanish suddenly in the middle of the stream, so if he vanishes suddenly, then yeah, and then second,
you'll talk into space.
Well, no, yeah, and then I'll talk into space or something. I don't know. But then secondly, we both might vanish because my internet connection has been really bad on and off for the last few days. Like, not consistently. Like, it'll be fine for a few hours, and it'll just be bad for like 2 hours where I can barely load web pages. So there's a distinct possibility this will turn into a boomer stream in 10 minutes. But that's not really new. That happens like 1 out of 3 streams we do where like it just dies every 10 minutes because my internet's terrible. But all right, I guess, was there any other heads ups, or was that it?
No, I think that's it.
All right.
I mean,
yeah,
cool. I guess you can lead into what you've been doing since you know everyone was complaining that you died.
Yeah. Well, it was, I don't know, I wouldn't say it was actually complaining. It was more like people seemed a little worried, so I guess it was, I don't know, kind of nice. But yeah, for the last, I want to say, week, I've been getting quite a few remarks wondering if I was alive or dead or not, because this has probably been the longest time I've not posted anything publicly. I mean, I post stuff in the patron Discord all the time, but like I haven't released a video or really done anything public in I want to say almost 2 months now.
Yeah,
I don't remember the last time. Yeah. Yeah. I've been working on the construction scaffoldings for all the factions. That's done. I worked on the building rubble for all the factions, and that's done. EXO got the battalions in the engine, and that's done, and I'll probably be able to show those sometime in the next few days. I'm just waiting for him to finish a few little issues with it, and then hopefully this week I'll be able to post a video showing a lot of this new stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of new stuff coming. It's just not a new faction, so I don't know if it's quite as exciting as a new faction, but the hero system is probably going to get reworked quite a bit. I guess we'll talk about that at some point.
That is the biggest change. Honestly, I would say, considering that, before I go into that, how did EXO react when you proposed that?
Oh, EXO thought it was a good idea.
You did, right?
EXO, but not everyone thought it was a good idea. Some people thought, and rightfully so, that it was probably going to make everything even harder to balance.
Yeah. I mean, can you honestly say, though, I mean, like, I'm kind of talking generally to everyone in the chat, but also, like, generally, like, are you really looking for a balanced RTS if you're interested in a game with 50 factions? Well, less than 50
well,
now.
Yeah, that's another change.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've cut out some of the fat.
But, like, I mean, I'm not saying that it has to be, like, completely dumb in terms of balance, but you're never gonna really get a balanced game with this many factions anyways. That's not really the kind of experience you should be looking for in a game like that. Like there are other RTSs out there that are, you know, super fine. You know, they're super tuned and balanced to be a competitive game, but they also have less factions as a result. There's a reason why the most popular RTSs in terms of competitive modes generally don't have a lot of factions, right? There are exceptions, but there's a reason.
Well, Age of Empires has like what? I think Age of Empires has almost 50 now. But to be fair, the differences between them are a lot more minor, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them do have some pretty significant differences in terms of the way they function, but they're I mean, I want it to be as balanced as possible, but it'll be difficult.
I think
already getting a bunch of questions right off the bat. Well, we'll do a Q&A at the end for sure, but I'll try to answer some of those after you finish your thought.
No, I was thinking that the new hero system, like we talked about before, it's closer to Age of Mythology, which is one of my favorite RTSs. So I'm like,
yeah, well, I was playing Age of Mythology like a week ago, and that's what triggered the idea. Because as you know, and some people on the Discord know, like for the last like 2 months now, I've been like beating myself up over trying to find a way to get all the Zora heroes to be represented in the game. And I couldn't justify it, and then I was playing Age of Mythology, and I'm just like, oh yeah, just do what Age of Mythology does. And it like solved the problem instantly. To the point where there's now like a surplus in some factions, or a surplus of empty spaces. But I don't know, let me answer some of these questions. Miss Draco asks, are the names of Zelda's ancestors in the fandom wiki official to the lore? As far as I know, yes. Do you mean do you mean specifically the 5 different Princess Zeldas, or like all the monarchs going back thousands of years? I think the answer to both is yes. They're considered canon to Nephi lore at the moment. They might change, but
yeah, I was about to say, like, if you're thinking about Nintendo canon, no.
I don't think Nintendo canon really has that many family names. There's No Hansen and Boss for whatever, and Gustav and Dalton. Well, those are the 5 main ones in Nephi canon too. But I think those are the only names in like 30 plus Zelda games. That actually reminds me, we'll probably be getting a trailer for the next Zelda game sometime in the next week or two. All the companies are showing all their games, so I'm expecting Botwa 2 Electric Boogaloo to drop a trailer sometime soon. I don't know, maybe we'll do a stream on that if we have anything to say about it. I have a feeling I won't really have anything interesting to say about it though.
But yeah, as Codeman pointed out in the chat in regards to that, I did redo the entire thing to make more sense. So the wiki at the moment is quite outdated. It's still in process of being updated. So
yeah, I don't have the time to update it myself.
No, it has to be done eventually. I just have been working on other stuff. But this is why I said so in the Discord ages ago, like last year, don't put it on there yet, because I'm not sure if I'm finished with it. There you go.
Yeah. But
eventually they'll get updated. If you're on the Discord, you can DM me, Deox, and I can send you like a list of the more up-to-date names if you're curious about that, because I do have them. But the wiki needs to be updated in that regard.
Yeah,
it's a work in progress.
To answer that question, yeah, they're canon and Nephi lore, but there's a possibility they might get tweaked or changed because they're not quite in stone yet.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I have not sat down myself to like I've looked through the genealogy, but I haven't like sat down and like looked through it. Like I don't even know all of the names off the top of my head. Like I haven't had the time to, because it's not really important to anything I'm working on directly at the moment. So it hasn't been on my mind yet. But I don't know. It'll be solidified someday.
Yeah, I mean, would you even remember like 100 names though?
Uh,
Even if you
10 years
sat
ago,
down.
10 years ago, I probably could.
Yeah.
10 years ago, yeah, 100 names, no big deal, but I'm getting older. I'm not even that old, and I'm just, my memory, even just with things in my personal life, is starting to fade. It's, I don't know if unnerving is the word I'd use, because I'm expecting it. I don't know. I wasn't expecting my memory to start to fade, at age 30. It seems like, when you're younger, it seems like, like the whole going senile memory thing is like something like that only happens to like really old people. But no, I'm already like forgetting things I did even like just a week ago, and someone will remind me. I'm like, no, I didn't do that a week ago. I'm like, yeah, you did that a week ago. No, I don't remember.
I mean, as we talked about, I don't think it's necessarily anything to do with age. I think it's more the fact that as a project grows in its scale and the scope of it, it gets very difficult to keep track of everything. Everything you've said, everything you've decided on, everything that has been discussed, right? It just
Yeah.
it's
Well,
increasingly
it's
more
bled
difficult.
beyond the project into all aspects of my life. So
Maybe you're just going crazy, Doesn't have to be
I might be. All right. Another question. Caleb Goodman asks, sorry to ask, but when will the story mode be released? Kind of new, so I don't know how often you get asked that. Well, I do have one of the story missions released now, but it's probably getting put off for a long time because there's a lot of fundamental work that needs to be done with the game first before I really focus on making all the cinematics and missions and stuff, which makes me a little sad because I really want to work on that stuff. Although I already know, like, say hypothetically, I'm like, okay, I'm doing all the missions and cinematics. After like 2 months, I'll be like, man, I'm sick of doing this. I want to go back to doing other things for the mod. That's how I always am. Let's see. Question: does Aperonian sound better than saying Aperoid? I would say Aperoid sounds better. It sounds more sci-fi-ish.
Yeah.
Aperonian, for some reason, makes me think of some kind of pasta. I don't know why. I'm gonna cook some Aperonian noodles. I don't know. Aperonian, for some reason, puts an image of pasta in my mind, I guess. Oh, the Aperoids. Let's see. I think those. Oh, of course, I scrolled the bottom, and it seems like I've seen all the questions, and it just jumps down, and there's like a wall of text. I guess maybe we should continue on, and I'll come back to the questions.
So someone last thing before we move on to the topic, and then you guys can ask questions later on when we run out of things to talk about at the end. But to mention, there is the genealogy. It's still a work in progress, like Neff said. One day when we have time and when I'm satisfied enough, we'll probably go through it. If you want to see it now, what has been done so far, just join the Discord, and you can ping me or DM me and ask me for it, and I'm happy to share it.
I will go ahead and post a link to the public Discord now that you mention it. I should just do that in every live stream I do, but
probably, yeah.
Let's see. Copy and pasta. Now I got pasta in my mind. Alright, yeah, in the chat I posted a link to the... Hopefully it's the public Discord and I didn't accidentally invite the world to my private Discord, in which case I'll just have to nuke it and start a new one.
It's the right link.
Okay, so. Cool. Alright.
Yeah, but yeah, there's the link. Join the server. Lots of stuff going on there. Neff is always busy anyways. But if you have any questions, feel free to direct them to me, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability.
Yeah, I've purposely tried to stay off of Discord like most of the day, and I don't think it was yesterday. It was like 2 days ago. I was actually on Discord the whole day, and I caught myself like getting horribly distracted with conversations on multiple Discords. I'm like, I can't do this. Discord is such a huge distraction, so I
It really is.
yeah, I stay away from it as much as I can. Unless I like finish something, I'll go on and I'll post something and I'll wait around for like 10 minutes and then I'll go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, leading into the heroes.
I guess we'll actually, someone mentioned, has stealth been added into the engine yet?
Oh, there you go.
Yes, kind of. I won't say any more than that, but
The meme is kind of dead.
I'm sure we'll find another meme, but
Yeah.
I might have news on stealth sometime in the next 6 months. Stealth seems sooner than later finally, so that'll be really awesome. But I won't say too much because EXO probably wants to talk more about it first. But anyway,
Yeah.
I guess we'll talk about the new hero system, which technically I haven't decided on yet, but it's probably gonna be the case. But right now in the game we have the thing where you start up a match and it bombards you with four icons of 4 different heroes, and then you pick one and you get a bunch of units and stuff and techs and what, or not a bunch, you get 1 unit for each hero. But anyway, you pick from 4 heroes at the start, yada 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 yada. But as I think I said earlier in this live stream, like 2 months ago, I was like ripping my hair out trying to fit all the Zora heroes in neatly, because there's kind of a lot of Zora heroes and most of them are pretty important, at least in Nephi canon. And I'm like, I gotta fit all of them. And I even have two different Zora factions, and I couldn't fit them all neatly into eight slots between the two. So I was like ripping my hair out. Like, should I just add a 5th hero to all the factions? But there's some factions where that'd be too much, and it'd probably be overwhelming for like a player when they start up and there's 5 character portraits to pick from. And then a week ago I was playing Age of Mythology, and I'm like, oh, that's the solution. Why didn't I think of that? Age of Mythology is one of my favorite games. So now...
I mean...
Oh, go on.
Like, it is a solution, but it's also invites a lot of work.
Yeah, well... You know me, work's never an issue for me.
Yeah.
In fact, I seem to have, like, an unhealthy fetish of giving myself more work to do.
There's no doubt about that.
I seem to, like, just... I don't know. Like, in the last 4 months, I've piled on so much more work that wasn't there. Like, I nuked everything after the Labyrinth arc. I added another Civil War. The heroes are getting redone. I've rearranged factions. I've like, made so many changes in the last, like, 2 months than I have in the last few years. And gave myself a bunch of work to do, but... Anyway, so yeah, the hero system, at least what I think it'll be, is it'll be like Age of Mythology, where you start by picking between 2 different heroes, and then when you tech up to the next age, or Hyrule Conquest, it's to like the next like city size. So when you go from village to town, you get to pick from 2 more heroes, and then when you go from town to city, you get to pick from 2 more heroes. So you can pick 3 out of 6 heroes, and then you can mix and match their units and abilities and stuff. So I thought that was a nice solution to the we need more hero slots problem.
I mean, you think it's going to be challenging when you reach, like, the factions where you have less canon sources to pull from? Or you think you're going to be fine with that?
I mean, I got past the biggest hurdle, which was the Goma.
Yeah.
So I think it's smooth sailing from here on out. I think though I am gonna merge the Perella and the Zola back together though.
I think that's fine.
Yeah, because they originally were one faction back in the old days, and then I'm like, no, I'll split them into 2. But then the other day I'm like, you know what? I think I'll demote the Perella to a minor faction, because they really don't have a ton of stuff to go on.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking, like, you know what, I'll just merge them with the River Zora, because I only have 5 heroes for the River Zora, so that'll give them 6.
I think that's fine. I mean, I know some people were looking forward to the Perel as their own thing, but like thematically speaking, they make sense as either being part of another faction
Yeah.
or be a sort of like NPC, because
The Perella will basically be the quote-unquote navy of the Riverzor. They're navy units, even though the Riverzor are aquatic and they can all go in the water anyway. So a navy's kind of redundant, but
I mean, they're very related in terms of
yeah.
factions, right? They are very, very related. Like, splitting them up always felt kind of, I wouldn't say artificial, but kind of odd in a way, considering how related they are. Not in just in thematically speaking, but their role in the game.
I mean, I feel like it's fair enough to identify the Zola and the Prella as like two different entities in Nephi canon, because even though they both work with each other, they technically are they do operate almost independently of each other, almost like let me think of a real world example. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I know they exist. Like, I don't know, the Zola, basically the Zola have a lot of autonomy, even though they're under the hierarchy of the Perella to some degree. Yeah. Like the Perella trust them enough to just like Perella don't govern Zola laws, if that makes any sense at all. Like a Perella won't just like go to a Zola monarch and be like, okay, these are all the laws, this is how you govern your cities, this is how you govern your people. Like, the Perella are just like, oh, attack here. Like, they're the Perella don't micromanage the Zolas, basically. I think that's the way of looking at it. But I think I'm gonna merge them back into one faction.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I really do.
So Wispy. Go on.
No, I was just thinking that first, there's two. Like, first of all, you cut your workload, and you also add something. You can create something that might potentially become a more complete faction by merging them, right?
Yeah.
And I think the benefits are big. The benefits outweigh the negatives.
In that particular case, I think so.
Yeah.
Some of the other factions I decided to demote or merge or remove or whatever, I'm not quite as certain as I am with the Zola and the Perella. I mean, I'm like 100% certain Aghanim's gonna be a minor faction, so I don't think that that one will change. But
the cult was a mistake.
The cult was a mistake. Yeah. But Wispy Whisker says, so basically you apply the Lizzlefoss system to the entire cast of characters. Yes, which the Lizzlefoss system was also inspired by Age of Mythology. In fact, even more directly, because in Age of Mythology you pick the deities, and that's what you do with the Lizzlefoss. Now with the Lizzlefoss, they basically have like two of those going on at the same time. So like they have their heroes and they also have their deities you can pick from at their ziggurat. So it's almost like the Lizzlefoss get twice as much as other factions, so they can potentially mix and match more things.
Which is cool. They could really need something to spice it up.
So the Zola are basically the Perella's pets. Yeah. I'm not sure if the Perella would see the Zola like pets, because obviously they're sentient. More like I know there's an analogy for this from something, I just can't think of it. Like, it's probably from some sci-fi, like, I don't know. Like, I for some reason in my mind, I'm thinking of some science fiction series where there's like some race of aliens that like manage like primitive aliens, but they don't like micromanage. I don't know. I'm tired. It was a long day at work today, and my memory's all screwed up.
No, I get what you mean. I think everyone else does. There's like they.
Oh, actually, there's an example within Hyrule Conquest. It's almost like the relationship between the Oka and the Hylians.
It's a good one, yeah.
Yeah, like it's like there's already another example within Hyrule Conquest.
it's like I guess you could say they have a certain say in the macro, but not in the micro, right?
Yes. Well, yeah,
I guess
they're like if you look at like a system of like a divine hierarchy, Pirellas would be like angels in that kind of like they 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 take the principle, the thing at the top, which in their case would be Bellum, and they put a context around its will and desires, and then they bring the orders down to what's lower in the hierarchy, and the more earthly beings manifest it in like a physical way. So although in the case of the Perella and the Zola and Bellum, it's actually like an inverted hierarchy. It's like a dark hierarchy.
Yeah. But I think that's the best way to look at it. That they manage macro, but they don't micro. I think that's like a very simple way to.
Yeah.
And I guess you could take into other factions that you decided to demote, and as to why. And now is the time to defend yourself.
Well, I guess I'll start with the ones I just outright axed, which the Lacomo. I can't. I tried to think of stuff to do with them, and I can't. I can't do anything with the Lacomo. I don't think anyone's gonna miss them though. I don't even know how many people were aware that they were planned as a faction. When I was going through the list of factions, I even forgot to put them on my list to like go through and get rid of them. And when I was doing all the numbers and stuff, I'm like, I'm missing a faction. And it took me forever to realize, oh, I forgot the Lacoma. I'm just gonna axe them.
I mean, Codeman has been very vocal about wanting them in. You can see it in the chat as well.
Codeman wants everything in that I cut.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't care for the Locomo, honestly. When you told me that you wanted to X them, I was like, okay.
I really tried. I was at the drawing board and I had a bunch of ideas, but all of my ideas turned them into something that's just not Lacoma, which I don't know. I guess you could argue I did that with Labrina, which is ironic because they're both kind of similar. They're both like steampunky, kind of.
I think it's just the train part that bothers you too much.
Well, no, it's not. It's not even just the train part. I mean, they freaking sit in like farting golf carts, like they have like little wheelchairs with like little train spouts on them. Like, I'm like, no, I don't know how to fix that.
I think. I mean, sure, it's not going to be a popular choice for some people, but I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think you lose anything from axing them.
Yeah.
I mean, if you axed, the Covel as well, then we would have. Then I would read. But the Coma in general is just it really doesn't matter, and you're incorporating elements from them into Labyrinth, so they're still around in some capacity, right? So.
Yeah. Yeah, the Cobble, weirdly enough, they have a full roster of canonical characters. So I and like I have a whole story plan for them and everything. Whereas the Lacomo have always in Nephi canon have always just been like, oh, they were around a long time ago and they all died. The end. It's never really been more than that. They died in a big war. The end.
Yeah, I mean, that's already a thing with the Cobble, right? So
yeah, basically same thing with the Cobble and the Oceanites. They were just like, well, I mean, the Cobble are involved in quote unquote modern Hyrule, so they're not just like an ancient thing that died a long time ago, like the Lacomo and the other civilizations from that time, but.
And even then, you could argue that they're still technically around because their descendants are, right? So.
Well, yeah, the irony that most of the modern factions are descendants of them.
Yeah.
The Cobble, they're basically Necrons.
Pretty much, yeah.
They're freaking Necrons.
So that's the Locomo. On to
Yeah,
the
Lacomo
next.
been axed. What other stuff did I axe? I don't even remember. I remember. I folded the Gerudo pirates into just the Gerudo proper faction. So the Gerudo pirates are gonna be their navy, which kind of makes sense. Like, I feel like the Gerudo would just
A
have a navy that raids and doesn't really operate in the most professional fashion.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, that's what the Gerudo
honestly,
do on land too. They're a bunch of freaking raiders. They have like a crappy homeland. They steal stuff to survive. Their navy would be a bunch of filthy pirates too. So I think the Gerudo pirates as a minor faction are going to be merged into the Gerudo, and they're just going to be their navy whenever I add in navies. Um,
I never understood like how you even imagined the Garuda Pirates to be their own thing. Well, I kind of do, but at the end of the day, it's like, are they really distinct enough at all? Right? It's one of those cases where
um,
they would make more sense together. I feel.
their ideology and this will still be represented in the game, even though they've been combined. Like they don't see eye to eye with Ganondorf.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of silly, but the fundamental difference is we don't care who we have kids with. Like that's the because Ganondorf he hates Hylians. He does not want Hylian blood to taint his race, which is the doom. That's like the doom of the Gerudo is that ideology. Let's see if there's any more
I mean,
questions floating around. Oh, what?
that's such a stupid like point of view. I get why
It's a really
Ganondorf.
common point of view, though. Like all throughout history.
I know, but I mean, in his case, his people.
Well,
They
yeah,
don't really
in
have
his
much
case,
choice.
it's really dumb, but that's his character flaws. He's so obsessed with getting back at Hylians that it leads to his own people's demise. No pun
I mean,
intended. No pun
yeah.
intended.
I mean, I get it. At the same time, the Highlands are their cousins.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of dumb.
I mean, it is, but like humans are emotional beings. Well, I know Gerudo
Yeah.
are not humans, but like they're technically biologically probably not humans, but symbolically Gerudo are humans. We can relate to them.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
humans. Hylians are humans. Even to some degree, the Zora are humans. Whatever. The point is, they think and act like humans, and humans are emotional beings. I don't care what anyone says. We're emotional. I completely understand why he is that way, even though it's really stupid. And as someone who doesn't have his baggage, of course, I'd be like, dude, like I get it. The Hylians screwed you over, but like your own people are gonna die if you don't stop. But if I was in his position, like I might think like him.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really, again, being his ideology is not really fueled by rationality. It's like, yeah, it's a pure emotion, which
Yeah.
fits his character.
Yeah.
It really does.
Anyway, let's see what questions there are. I thought I saw. Well, I see just a question mark by itself. It's further above. Are the wind? Let's see. And the wind tribe are Kabul. I mean, they probably came from them. I wouldn't say they.
Our descendants from
The
the Kabul.
the wind tribe probably would not identify as or with the Kabul. I mean, the Kabul predate them by. I was like, what was it, like 300, 400, 500? I don't remember the exact numbers. You might at least several hundred years, I think.
The thing is, I can just do a quick recap. I was like, by the time the Kabul civilization collapsed, in just the span of a few generations, all the remnants of the Kabul civilization had already started identifying as their own peoples, right? So where they came from is not something they would identify with. The Wind Tribe were one of the earlier splinter groups of that collapse, but they by the point they were called the Wind Tribe, or that's what they understood as their own identity. They would not associate with the Kabul. They probably had like cultural memory of that time, like in legends
I mean, you can
and
see hints of it
stories.
in their architecture.
Yeah, like there
So
would
that's
be
a
like
nice
elements
little
of.
visual connection.
But it's the same thing with, I don't think like other races that broke off during that time, like the Arcadians. I don't think they even would. Again,
No.
they would have cultural memory of that time through stories and legends, but that's not something they would identify themselves with. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
it's like the whole Roman culture. It kind of cuts off not long before the myth of the founding of Rome. Like I'm certain that I mean, there's correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a lot of quote unquote professionals that actually believe Romans are descended from the Trojans in Turkey.
yeah.
Yeah, but like there's like nothing in Roman mythology that even hints at that. And they're not that far off in terms of time, like but so that goes to show that even after like just a few centuries, a culture can be completely cut off from its origin, which is definitely
That's actually
that's the case in Hyrule Conquest with the Hylians.
good
They're
example.
completely cut off from the Cobble.
I actually have a good example that's within my field of expertise. Is that, take the Norse, right? We know that the Norse had what is probably Indo-European mythology, right?
Yeah.
But they did not consider themselves Indo-European
Yeah,
at
well, I
all.
mean, it's funny you bring up the Norse because Arcadians are kind of in a similar principle as them.
I mean, an example of such that is, we're not sure if it's truly Indo-European or it's just Proto-Germanic. It's probably not Proto-Germanic because we have elements of it in Slavic mythology, but it's like Sigurd the Dragon Slayer, right?
Yeah.
That's a story that is retold all over Europe.
Yeah, it's
But
Saint George slaying the dragon. It's almost the same story.
yeah, yeah. So again, that is what you could call cultural memory. So they have cultural memory of the time.
Okay, I see what you mean by cultural memory
Yeah.
then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a cultural memory there, but it's fragmented and it's not, representative of the actual story, but it lives on with modifications, right?
Yeah.
And that's why you get all these variations of the same story, and that's how I imagine the Wind Tribe and the Arcadians, and probably later on the Collins as well. They have shared cultural memory, but they're different. There are differences there, right?
Yeah.
But they have the same source. So I went on a huge tangent, but that's basically it.
Yeah. There's actually, it
So
seems like there's several questions related to Cobble. Lord of Creation asks, speaking of the Cobble Kingdom, does anyone here want to see Cobble Stormtroopers in the roster again? They'll probably be there still. I don't think they were ever. I don't think I've ever. I haven't modeled the Cobble units yet, so they've never been in the game and they've never been taken out. So, let's see. So the Akalin are descendants of the Locomo. I would say more so the Cobble.
well, definitely not the Locomo now.
Well, yeah, the Locomo have kind of been retconned, sort of, kind of. Yeah, they kind of been retconned out of Nephi mythology, Nephi canon mythology.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
even when the Locomo were more part of Nephi canon, the Hylians and the Hylians come from the Akalins come from the Arcadians, and the Arcadians come from the Cobble. There's probably lost groups and ethnicities and cultures in between the Cobble and Arcadia, but they're lost because that time was like just massive. It's like the bronze era collapse. It was just a massive collapse of powerful civilizations that were cut off.
Yeah, we know, like.
I actually didn't
Yeah,
even think about that. The collapse of the Locomo does kind of match up with the real world Bronze Age collapse, where you had all these like
Yeah.
Mesopotamian cultures that just all died at like the same time.
I think I think the oldest cultural memory of Hyruleans in Hyrule Conquest is Arcadia. Like,
Yep.
beyond that, it's just muddy,
Yep.
and I don't even think, like, even your average Hylian scholar has like a lot of knowledge of the Cobble at all. I think all the cultural memory they pull from is just Arcadia.
Yep.
At all. That's where it stops. Beyond Arcadia, because Arcadia is stupidly old, right?
Yeah.
Arcadia has been around for a long time, so that is the furthest back you can go. for a
And
Hyrulean
I would
person.
even say modern Arcadia probably still has differences from like the Arcadia
Mm.
that was around at the time of Akala. It's just they've stuck closer to their culture than the Hylians did, I guess you could say. But like if you took a modern Arcadian and put them next to an Arcadian from the time of Gustav, you'd be like, I can see the relationship, but there's enough of a difference where that I can see them as being a little different.
They probably wouldn't even understand each other.
Yeah, well, I mean the same way that you take a modern Hylian and compare him to an Akallan, like you can tell, like okay, they both have pointed ears, they both look similar, but they're a little different.
Yeah, I mean, so I think like in terms of ancestry, I think it's fair to assume for Hyruleans, like Arcadia is where it stops. Like they
Yeah,
wouldn't have any idea beyond that. Because
it's
here's the
it's
thing,
like it's like on Earth. There's pretty much nothing before Sumeria. Like I mean, there's fragments, but I mean,
yeah,
there clearly were civilizations before then, but they're cut off from human memory.
yeah. And
Whatever's left is so buried in our psyche that it's just we don't even connect it to anything before then. It's like
so
Gilgamesh, you don't get much older than that right now.
no,
Even though I can guarantee you the story of Gilgamesh is even older than the oldest version we have.
Mm.
I can guarantee
Again,
it.
Good example of that. Let's say there is somewhat shared cultural memory between Gerudo, Hylians, and maybe even Horonians and Librinians, right? Here's the
Yeah.
thing: like there's a shared story there. That it's probably differences there, but to them, that would be the furthest back they can go to trace that story would be Arcadia. Even
Yeah.
if that story has cobbled roots, they wouldn't know because it's so far. It's so in the back in the past that they wouldn't even realize that it's a cobble thing
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, and from the perspective of the Hylians, even the Arcadians are like, oh, they're the weird pagans from before us.
Yeah.
And it's like in almost every mythology there's look at Greek mythology, there's before man there was the gods, and then before the gods there was the titans. There's always like this more monstrous era before something in like every mythology, like because that's just how reality, like that's how reality unfolds, like that's how reality looks to humans, like preceding your culture everything's monstrous because it's weird
Yeah.
and foreign and alien.
I think Highland specifically would have more an ideal kind of relationship with their Colin ancestry rather than Arcadia, right?
Yeah.
Because they, the nobility, they still learn a Colin. Some aspects of a Colin culture is still around, while Arcadian is even further back. And I'm sure modern Highlands, especially, powerful people, they would look at Arcadia with some reverence, right? But ultimately, they're more concerned with Akala.
I mean, they see them as human, I guess. Like they don't see them as
Yeah.
like subhuman or anything.
But it's more like you said, that it's like, it's this kind of backwater ancestor people that lived off on the fringe of the world and they
Yeah.
never went anywhere. It's kind of that.
It's like how the Romans saw the Greeks, I guess. Even though culturally the Greeks ended up like like assimilating all of the Roman Empire, which is kind of funny. It doesn't happen in Hyrule Conquest. The Arcadian culture doesn't subsume all of the Hylian culture.
No. I do think that due to that they have an idea of what Arcadia is and what it used to be, I would still think that, like we see in modern, or not how we see in real life history, is that families that claim that they are able to trace their descendants from Arcadia would probably use this as a source of pride, and we see this in real world history, right? You see it in the sagas where people are like, the genealogy of the Norse sagas, they go back to like Troy and shit, right? Yeah, I'm not even
Troy. Why is
I'm not
everything connected to Rome?
I'm not joking. So
That is funny, but
it's probably bullshit.
I can see why. That's so funny. I love it. Sorry, go on. I'm sorry.
No, it's
That
essentially
made my
at that
day.
point at that point it becomes kind of totemistic in a way. It's like it doesn't really matter if it's true or not. It's just kind of something we claim.
No, I know this has become a meme, but symbolically that makes sense that a Westerner would connect to Troy. Like, it doesn't matter if Troy was an actual physical place. Like, that's not the point. The point is Troy is there. Everything's connected to. Anyway, sorry. I'll try not to go on a tangent about. Anyway, I guess I'll. There was a few more Cobble questions, but I think I lost them. Oh, actually, I think I went way too far up. Yeah, I lost the Cobble question. Sorry, guys. Oh no, there's a Stormtrooper question. Yeah, the Stormtroopers will probably be there. So I'm looking forward to Breath of the Wild 2. And maybe if the Cobble are in it, I'll look forward to it. I'll probably pass on Breath of the Wild 2. When tribe are okay, yeah, okay. I'm seeing questions already answered. I think. See, are Gorons here? Are Gorons? Oh yeah, I was talking about the Gorons. When I say like the Gerudo are human and the Hylians are human and the Zora and the Gorons are kind of human, I don't mean like from scientific categories. I don't mean to say like, oh, I took out DNA from the Goron and I looked under a microscope and lo and behold, there's human. That's not what I mean. I mean like you can communicate with a Goron, you can have a conversation with a Goron, you can relate to a Goron. Their relationship with you is like a human. That's what I mean by like the Zora and the Gerudo, and they're on some level they're all human, which is why I always say like if humans ever encountered extraterrestrial life in space or whatever, by necessity there would have to be something human about it. Like, because if it was not human enough, we wouldn't even recognize it as life. It would just we probably wouldn't even recognize it, even if it was like some super sentient like alien species with like vast intelligence. If there was nothing human about it, we wouldn't even notice it. Probably we wouldn't recognize it as, because we're human. Like, we can only relate to things that are human. Wait, we anthropomorphize everything. Like, there's no escaping that. I feel like I went on a tangent, but hopefully that answered the Goron human question. Yeah, I let's see. It just keeps zooming me to the bottom, so I'm sorry for anyone else who asked Cobble related questions.
I think if you didn't get your question answered, then just ask it again when we do the Q&A and just focus on that.
Yeah,
that's the best way to do it.
So yeah, the Cobble aren't getting removed. I think that was the point.
yeah. The Locoma are, and I just to kind of. I know some people were like kind of engrossed in the idea of them, but here's how much they matter. I can delete like one sentence and that's it. Poof.
That's how on the wiki.
That's how they. That's how much they mattered in the end. It's like one or two sentences and poof.
Yeah, I never really fleshed them out. Since like 2013, they've just been, oh, they were an ancient civilization that fought and then they died at the end. Like, and I never really got further than that. I experimented with ideas and I never was satisfied with them. So Angian's probably a Librinian.
Yeah.
And it's Angian, not engine. Fuck those puns. It's Angian. Anyway, sorry, I just went on a little diatribe. Can someone tell me why there's a Bulbasaur graffiti in the Gerudo map? I'm glad people are finding Easter eggs. It's an Easter egg, and if you don't know what it's a reference to, then I can't really explain it. It's something you have to just know about. It's the Bulbasaur one in particular is really obscure, so yeah. So yeah, that's an Easter egg to answer that question. See, is the audio low for anyone? Is my audio low, or is it just that person that it's low for? Do I sound quiet? to you?
Yeah, no. It's
Okay.
just because I checked the stream.
Oh, yeah, he said never mind further down. Never mind. Okay,
Yeah.
I guess the audio's fine. Let's see. I love how in the wiki it said that the kingdom of Orgoth went insane due to perceiving the fourth dimension from the eclipse. Well, if that is on the wiki, I did not put that there. So someone else put that there, and I'm not sure I would describe. I'm not sure that's how I would describe it, but they did kind of go insane.
Yeah.
But no, I don't even think I ever put Orgoth on the wiki. Someone else must have. And so whatever you read about Orgoth on the wiki, that's probably gonna change. That doesn't quite sound exactly like what exactly drove them all insane. Anyway, I think that's all the questions so far. So, how do Kokiri grow clothes? Well, they probably just make their clothes. I feel like I answered that already. Like they just grow. Did I answer that earlier in the stream?
No, you didn't answer that.
Oh well, they. I don't know. Again, my memory is just on another level, probably a bad level. No, they just make their clothes like, they sew, and they kill animals and use their hides. Like they make clothes just like anyone else. They're even the whiz robes. They don't just like summon clothes out of nothing. They still make their clothing.
I mean, that would be kind of kick-ass though if they're just conjured a bunch of clothes.
Even the Zora, like they weave their clothing.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the Perella. Well, the Perella don't really have clothing, I guess. I was gonna say maybe the Perella just grow like living clothing, but they don't bother covering up because they don't need to.
Of getting back on topic, did you make a decision for the Nuki?
No, I haven't really. I've gone back and forth on them. They really could go either way. I feel like they'd be better as a minor faction, but they do kind of have enough stuff that could be kind of made into a full faction, but
honestly, I think there's such in the gray area. It ultimately boils down to: do you want to do it or not?
I won't know until I get to them if I want to do it or not, probably.
But I think that's kind of what it boils down to.
Also, in terms of like the story, like they do have an important role, but it's so small at the same time.
Yeah.
they're honestly until like we flesh out the Hyrulean Civil War, they're a lot like Akala was years ago, like when they were just called the Ancient Hyruleans, where like they're a tutorial level basically, and then you graduate to to the other factions.
Yeah.
Basically, the Inoki, like they were like a small prologue that sets up the situation in the Great Sea. That's basically all they really were. And then Zunari leaves. Basically, introduces Zunari, who makes later on when Tetra and Link meet him, he makes a connection. He's like, oh wait, the people I was raised with, they know about this stuff. Maybe it's all connected. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I don't know, Noki could go either way. I'll just say they're in limbo right now. Kind of like how the Volvagians and Ognim were for a few months there. They're kind of just in limbo. Which, yeah, the Volvagians were demoted to a minor faction. I know I'd said that, like, in every live stream, like, yeah, the Volvagians will probably get demoted. Well, they finally are. They just they don't have enough to be a full faction. I'm sorry. So they're a minor faction. Is Zunari Arcadian or Gerudo? He's probably Hylian. I don't know. He could be Arcadian. Sorry. Codeman asked that.
Honestly, I think it would be more interesting he was Arcadian.
He was Arcadian. I
Yeah.
mean, Arcadia's right next door to the Anauki, so wouldn't surprise me that much.
I mean, I see the Gerudo link, but I think it would be cool to have more Arcadian characters in the Great Sea.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have. He's kind of like, even in Wind Waker, he's kind of like just parody character.
Almost all the characters in Wind Waker are parody characters.
Yeah,
it's even the King of Red Lions, who's probably the most played straight character in the game. Like, for half the game, he's like a goofy boat that, you know, doesn't take himself or what's going on too seriously. It's only at like the end of the game he's like not a wacky goofball anymore. So like every character in Wind Waker is kind of like a joke character at some point.
No, actually,
I'm not even really faulting the game for that. I'm just pointing out like everyone's kind of goofy in that game. No, except Ganondorf, I guess.
I think it should be Arcadian.
Arcadian. All right. Well, Zunari probably will be Arcadian.
But here's the cool thing though, is that it kind of enforces that what the Great Sea is, that there are a lot of people rummaging around, right?
Yeah.
So I like that. That, you know, you have Arcadians are right next door. Obviously, they would have a presence. You would see Arcadian merchants and fishermen and sailors, and you would see other races. They're all, you know, bartering goods and shit on the islands, because it's a small cluster of islands, right? So it seems like a busy place.
Yeah, I mean, the area the Arcadians are in and the Anauki, it's like a freaking frozen wasteland. So they I guess they'd have to survive by trading with their more fortunate neighbors. Yeah, thank you. I was drawing a blank on what word to use there. And then, well, the Arcadians have been fighting the Mogma forever too, who live in the freaking mountain range next door. They're not on good terms, so yeah, I guess Arcadia is kind of like Japan in that regard. Oh, I really need to sneeze. Hang on a second. Boy.
There you go.
That's better.
I guess Arcadia has some beef to pick with some of the races in their local neighborhood.
Yeah. I think the Arcadians have more to do with what's going on than the Anauki, now that I think about it. Sorry. I forgot what I was saying. I got distracted.
I mean, now, especially after, I don't know if now we didn't discuss this in stream. We had in the older voice chat with with the dragons. You have a very good setup for like.
Oh yeah, the three.
Yeah, you have that's a very good setup for a lot of resentment in general in that area. It's like a cultural memory that
I need to sit down one day and like put all of this in stone. I don't have the time lately. I've been scaffoldings for like 1 week here, rubble for a week there, battalions for a week there. It's just been all like gameplay stuff for like the last few months. What was it, like I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago now, I finally sat down. I'm like, I'm gonna flesh out the whole Labyrinth arc. I'm gonna get all of the dialogue done. I didn't even make it like several hours, and then there's gonna be a new Civil War after. Retconning this, retconning that, and I had even less done than I did before. Somehow I had even less done than before I sat down to do that.
I don't think it's a big rush to kind of figure out everything before it's actually done. I think we can do it kind of gradually when there's time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
I think that's the best way.
I don't know, maybe that's what George R. Martin went through. I don't know. Which actually reminds me, I've almost finished the Game of Thrones book. I'm like, let's see what page I'm on. I'm on page 645, right after Daenerys killed Drogo the second time. And I have to say, this is gonna sound very strange, and this is kind of a tangent, but I do think the book is better than the show, but I actually think I prefer the show over the book, if that makes any sense at all.
No,
At least the
fine.
first season. At least the first season, because obviously this book is only the first season of the show, like not the. I don't know. Maybe the show like takes a nosedive compared to the books after, but
Another thing you will notice, and I think the show worked in the show's benefit, is that because it had a retrospective to work off. All right, and there's one thing you will notice after reading the first book and then moving on to the second and the third is that a lot of the world building was not finished in book one, right?
right,
Meanwhile the show had more books to work off of, so they had more context,
right,
which is why I think the first couple of seasons were so good, because they had a bigger source material to work with. They could see a bigger picture, while George, it's very very clear that he was not finished with the world building in the first book, right? There's a lot of things that kind of like
yeah. I think
I don't know. It's kind of, you can tell that he hadn't fleshed out all the houses, all the regions, all the cultures. You can tell, right? There's something there.
yeah. Although ironically, at least in the first book versus the first season, they talk about houses way more in the book. Like all the little houses, like answer like when Rob is marshaling all the different houses, and same thing with the Lannisters. Like it talks about all of the Bannermen and their houses, which I don't think was in the show at all.
No,
It's
but
just
the thing
Starks
is,
versus Lannisters in the show. You don't see any of the other banner. Like the Hound isn't even in the fight at the in the end of the book in the show. Like, why'd they leave him out?
But I know for certain, and you can kind of tell if you, especially if you read all the books and then you go back and read the first books, all those names, they're kind of empty names at that point when he wrote it in
Right.
context, right? They were not fleshed out at all, and you can really tell.
Yeah, I can kind of see that, but I think the advantage of the show though is it's paced a lot better than the book, and
Yeah.
I mean Tolkien has the same problem, but there's parts in the book where like it really feels like it goes off on a tangent, and
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, like what the hell happened to King Robert? He vanishes for like 200 pages. The characters will just vanish for several hundred pages and then show up again. Whereas in the show, I mean, I'd have to watch the first season again to compare it, but I think they slightly rearranged things in the show.
Yeah, they did.
So
I-
the pacing in the show feels a lot more even. It doesn't feel like characters vanish for a long period of time. Like they only vanish for I don't know.
It gets a lot better later in the series because George kind of finds his footing at that point, right? Like
Yeah.
in the first book, really feels it's a very good book, but it feels like a draft in certain parts.
I would say that yeah. Well, this is gonna sound really hypocritical of me because I kind of do the same thing too. But honestly, it feels like the first book is a bunch of small unfinished stories.
Yes.
Like I feel like it probably would have been better if he focused more on like just 2 or 3 characters instead of like I think was there like 10 perspective characters. I think
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot. And I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite because I kind of do the same thing myself. Like I have loads and loads of characters.
The thing is that he finds his footing later on, and tying this back to the thing is though, this is what he does full time, right? And he doesn't even later on he doesn't even do it alone because it's just simply too much. I think it's because you are also doing a bunch of other stuff. I think it's fine to take it gradually and just we can discuss it when there's time, right?
Yeah.
I think writing down the entire Labyrinth arc is just gonna take too long.
Yeah, I would need like 2
in one
weeks.
sitting,
Like I would need like 2 weeks to get the first draft. I mean, I guess I have a first draft, but like not scribbles, like an actual like script, and then get that sorted out. And yeah, I would need a long time, and I can't stop working on everything for like several weeks to type out a bunch of stuff.
I think we should just kind of do what we did before you finish the last cinematics, when you take it kind of cinematic by cinematic, or plan ahead a few cinematics, right? I think that's the best way to do it because you can write the script and it might not work out when you start animating it.
That always happens. Like that's like there's a lot. that happened all the time in the the Fallen Sage missions. Like I would be animating this, and I'm like, you know what, this part isn't working. I'm gonna either axe it or do something different. The I've said this example before. The best example of what that happened is for years the fight at the end when when Sulcaris plows through Hyrule Castle Town or whatever, and then she fights Link in the Temple of Time. Originally, after that, it was just Link and Saria that beat the crap out of her, and then Link decapitates her. For years, that's what I had down. And that played over and over in my head for years. And then I was animating that scene, and I'm like, you know what? All the sages should be here. Originally, it's how the scene plays out. She beats the crap out of all the sages, and they're all beat up, and then it's just Link and Saria at the end. And you kind of see that in the animation too. Like all the sages are beat up, and then they're like, "No, one final push at the end," and they all get a hit in at the end. Like I just like when I was watching the animation, I'm like, "No, all the sages have to be here." It just feels wrong with just Link and Saria, and no one else. It felt wrong.
I mean, look at other things like all the dialogue that we cut. Remember from the last cinematic? It's like it actually worked out for the better.
Yeah, that worked for the better, cutting stuff out instead of adding.
I think
there's things that in text seem completely fine, and then when you actually see it animated, it's like this doesn't feel as good as it did in text, and vice versa.
I think my favorite part of that is the kind of montage at the end. That was not there originally. There was a lot of dialogue there.
Yeah, the whole part in the Temple of Time after Hylia nukes all the Goma, like that was like a 10-minute long scene with dialogue between all the characters, and then I'm just like, you know what? I think this could be accomplished by just having characters look at each other without saying anything. I feel like Ruto handing Darunia food says more than like I could ever do with like her having a full conversation with him.
Yeah, definitely. I think it worked out for the better.
Like, I feel like that's like the perfect example of show don't tell, like that I've done so far anyway.
Yeah, and I think in terms of the script, I think it's good to have like a rough idea of where you want to go, but the details, can you take you think about the details when you get there, right? And you have a better visual in your head of how it will play out. I think that's like the best way. Like the major story beats, I think are important to have in place before you go in, but the details you can always go through when you're there.
Yeah. I scrapped almost everything I'd done for all the post-Labyrinth stuff. I had dialogue written for a lot of that stuff, and now it's all gone because everything after that, basically redoing from scratch.
I mean, I think when we get there, in 10 years,
I had a Akazu and Kazak's final conversation. Like I've had it down for years, and it's been completely scrapped since the changes with the Civil War. So like even if I have things like, say I sat down, I got the whole script for the Labyrinth arc written out, I can guarantee you by the time I start animating it, things would be changing left and right as these things worked and those things, like it's why people always complain, like, how come this movie adaptation of the book isn't exactly like the book? And it's after experiencing it for 10 years now, it's because some things in text really do not translate well to screen. They don't, like even we're just talking about Game of Thrones. The Game of Thrones book is almost entirely in first person. It's from the perspective of characters, and but I don't see how they could do that with the show. I don't see how that would be possible. It would be really awkward. I imagine it can be done, but it's not as simple as just copy pasting everything in the book and it's all first person in the show. Like, it would still have to be reworked. Like, they're two different mediums. It's not as simple as, oh, I'm going to copy all of this into movie form and it'll translate perfectly. It doesn't work that way. And the same is true in reverse. Like, if you make a novel adaptation of something that isn't a novel, like there's things visually that are not quite as easy to capture in text.
Yeah, I think like now, in terms of developing the script, like we have a good idea of where characters will end up. It's just kind of about how they get there, right? The details of it.
Well, I have kind of gone back and forth on Saria.
Yeah.
Saria and Rudo in particular.
I mean, there's so much time to consider it though, so.
It seems, I don't know, I feel like time is just always gone.
Yeah.
Time is a predator, Captain. If anyone knows what that's a reference to, you get a brownie. No one will know where that's from.
The thing is, talking about, we've already discussed the Civil War extensively on stream, but I think like you probably thought it was like this huge upheaval. I'm like, it's okay. It's like sounds better than the original draft for the arc after Labyrinth. So
I think a second Hyrulean Civil War is better than just what even was originally going to happen. It was just
two
like
swords poke each other.
Two swords poking. Yeah, it was like a bunch of undead, two swords poking each other, and the Gerudo. Yeah. See, Wispy Whisker says, food is associated with love. Feeding is the same as saying I love you. Sort of. I would say more so that food is associated with sex, more specifically than love. I mean, there's a connection between all of them, but I'm gonna lose my audience by talking about that.
Yeah. Huge tangent alert.
There's actually a wonderful video. I mean, the title of it will make it sound dirty, but there's a symbolic like video online called Food, Sex, and Communion that's all about the relationship between all those things and why psychologically humans have always connected all of those things since the dawn of time.
If you think about it though, a very dominating theory as to why humans kiss and make out is that it's related to feeding. That's why it became a thing at all, right?
Yeah.
That's actually a very prevailing theory as to why we do it, because primates do. Some certain primates do it too, and it's more apparent as to why they do it than in us. And likely that was the original practice. It's mouth feeding, really, between an infant and its mother.
Yep.
And it's something that we've adapted, and we had put a sexual connotation to it, and it's kind of been that way for the last, 100,000 years.
Yep.
So that the association is there, and obviously it has evolved. It's become a bit more as we've, not necessarily evolved, but we've added more meaning to it. But if you go back far enough, that's kind of what the original association were in the first place.
Yeah.
So,
and it's because eating food and reproducing, it's extending your body.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a dirty way. I mean, like, if you eat food, the food literally becomes an extension of your body. It becomes part of you. Like, when you reproduce, your child is an extension of your body. Like, the connection to me is obvious anyway, but, I understand, modern people are like, no, they're different. I don't see, like, eating's not the same as it's like, it's the function, not the literalness. Like, sorry. Actually, speaking of symbolic stuff, someone's asking, what creatures in the Zelda series and Hyrule Conquest have a chimera-like creature at all? Ganon is a chimera. In Nintendo canon and Nephi canon, Ganon, well, more so in Ocarina of Time. Like, Ganon's a chimera. Like, almost all the monsters are chimera. Like, that's what a monster is. Like, monster and chimera is like an interchangeable term. Like, well, no, there's a bit of a difference. Chimera actually kind of implies that the monster is intentionally created. Chimera would be like something that was purposely bred to disrupt something, whereas a monster can just be like some natural thing that's like a screwed up hybrid of impossible creatures. Did you? Oh, I hear you now.
No, I just have to bring something up because.
Okay, what?
I'm afraid that war now makes uncomfortably more sense. There you go.
What?
Someone mentioned in the chat that I am afraid that war now makes uncomfortably more sense. And there, yep,
War?
there you go. War. You know, DeviantArt war.
Oh, Vor.
Yeah.
Yes.
There
Yeah.
you go.
I thought you
I'm not
meant
gonna
war,
tell you.
like conflict between nations.
No.
I'm like, this is random.
No, but yeah, there you go. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah,
Because
no,
it's
that symbolically makes sense to me. It's
yeah.
the same thing as the character of what's that character from Dracula? The character that keeps eating everything. It all has to do with extending your body and influence and preserving yourself. Renfield, that was it. Yeah, that guy. Like that's why the character of Renfield is eating stuff, because there's a connection between eating and extending your principle out into the world. So we'll say it that way. Anyway.
People coming in here like, oh yeah, I'm gonna hear about Hyrule Conquest.
Oh, they're talking about Vor and Dracula and the relationship between sex and food. What is going on? It is related to Hyrule Conquest.
It's without context, it sounds so degenerate. But
I mean, someone probably could make really funny, like, out of context soundboards of things we've said over the last year. Just like take random things we've said out of context.
No doubt. Oh yeah, going completely back to the topic, the Yiga.
Oh,
that's another.
I will go back to the Yiga in just a second, because they're kind of in a similar position as the Anauki. But Wispy Whiskers mentioned that all monsters in myth are described to be hybrids of different creatures, or maybe they aren't described at all. That is correct. A monster, I mean, in modernity, we kind of use the word monster in a really general sense to just be like anything kind of scary, but look at the etymology of monster, and like look at the etymology of the word demonstrate. Demonstrate is the opposite of monster. It's like to demonster. Like, a monster is something that seems impossible, and what better way to represent something impossible as like an impossible hybrid of different beings. Like that's why I actually think I ranted about this on the Discord a few weeks ago when they were talking about dragons, and I'm like, I think it was actually George R. R. Martin where he's complaining like, the dragon wings are too small, so my dragon wings are big because that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, that's the point. The wings are supposed to be small. It's supposed to not make sense on purpose. That's what a monster is. It's like, sorry, I just like got myself worked up there for no reason. I'm serious, like the freaking Enlightenment damaged human psyche so much. I think I scared Deox away.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
God damn it, Enlightenment. I said, God damn it, Enlightenment.
It's like when you and the thing is you can try to classify a dragon, but the moment you do, it's no longer a dragon or a monster. Like when you tame or kill a dragon, it's not a dragon anymore. It's now just an animal or whatever it was that you encountered as a dragon. Like it's like how I was saying a few weeks ago with Tarm. Like, there are things in reality that have to be implicit, and the moment you make them explicit, they cease to exist. It's just a weird phenomenon of reality. But the scientific mindset can't accept that. It has to make everything explicit. And by doing that, it's blind to so many things. It's so weird.
It's kind of a very easy way to describe that is that, you know, the scary shadows of the periphery of your vision.
Yeah.
The moment you turn your head,
they're gone. No matter what. If you have like a vague, scary, spooky thing in your periphery, and then you turn and then you see a thing and it's a cat. It's not the spooky. It's gone. It's not there anymore. Like you slayed that dragon. The dragon's gone. Or you tamed it. Like it can only exist implicitly. And a dragon and a monster and a dragon's a lot like that. They can only exist implicitly. The moment you try to make them explicit, they cease to be. Like, there's so many things in reality like that that just, for some reason, our culture just won't accept. It's very bizarre. No wonder there's so many mental health issues nowadays.
Speaking of slaying dragons, back to topic. What's up with High Top?
Oh, well, that's just a name I threw there for Styla's band of usurpers.
Like I kind of figured that you threw there on there, but because I was thinking like, how would that play out?
They're technically roams, you're right.
Yeah, not technically just roams. They're technically roams with Arcadian backup, right?
Yeah.
And Arcadia is there, so I was like, what? Wait, what?
I felt like they needed some kind of name to identify them on a menu.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could just call them the Stylas.
Because the thing is,
or the Tufts. I don't know, the mods.
I mean, High Top, it's nothing wrong with the High Top. It's just that like, as a minor faction, wouldn't they just be Arcadia with roams in them?
Well, they're Hyruleans.
Yeah, I know, but they're backed by Arcadia, right? Because they were in exile in Arcadia, and they get Arcadian support through...
They get Arcadian support, but Arcadia is already a minor faction.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, wait, what?
Styla and Tuft have their own soldiers independent of Arcadia. It's just not a lot.
Okay.
Does that clarify?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they have their own house, and they have a little bit of power. It's just not much at all. They're almost like a house in exile, I guess. Kind of like the Targaryens in Game of Thrones for a little bit. They're like a house in exile that no one really, everyone kind of laughs at because.
So basically, when they went to Arcadia, they brought a few retainers and soldiers. Yeah.
They brought like the 5 guys that were loyal to them, and they're retainers. Arcadia is technically separate from them. In fact, Arcadia barely helps them before switching sides, so...
Yeah.
Poor Styla.
I think you can keep High Top, but what would High Top be, though?
Well, in my mind, High Top's just a place, not... It's just like a castle that's just sitting there in the snow somewhere.
Yeah, as I said it to you the other day, I think it could just be their castle that they were given when they went into exile. I think that's like a good... It's just, hey, Castle High Top, here you go.
Castle High Top. Yeah. I don't know. I'll think. I guess for now, House High Top is just a placeholder because I was just trying to match all the names and everything up to the major factions and make sure everything aligns, and of course it doesn't, so I have to rethink that someday, but I stopped working on it because I've been working on it for several hours and I'm like, I need to get back to work on sounds and stuff, so the minor faction thing is still kind of unfinished at the moment. I just have too much stuff. People are asking, who is the supreme necromancer in Hyrule Conquest? Does Star-Lord count as a supreme necromancer? No, I would not say Star-Lord is a supreme necromancer because he's actually the thing that's been raised. Although his name does kind of imply that he's like he's at the top of some kind of hierarchy because he has Lord in his name. The thing about necromancy is because it's such an ambiguous medium, it's usually hard. Even a necromancer, they usually don't know what principle they're serving. That's why necromancy is dangerous. Necromancy is connected to passions, and making passions your principles is very dangerous. Which is probably why people see emotions as like kind of a bad thing in modernity. I mean, it's not that they're bad, it's just that they're a bad thing to be your principal. Like poor Ganondorf. But rationality is also a bad principle too, so... Well, at the top, putting rationality at the top of your hierarchy is bad. Obviously, rationality is a very useful useful thing. Anyway, I feel like I'm going way off on a tangent again for like the 20th time. What was the topic again?
Factions that minor factions, factions that are getting demoted or cut.
Oh yeah, the Yiga.
Yeah.
The Yiga are kind of in the same awkward place as the Anauki, where like, well, I think I told you with the Yiga, it's actually kind of easy. I'm just waiting to see if they do anything with them in the next game, and if they don't, they're probably going to be a minor faction, and if they do in the next game, I'll see if I could use any of those ideas and flesh them out. So that kind of hinges on what the hell Nintendo does next, I guess, for the Yiga.
You know my stance on that.
I actually don't remember what your stance on that was. What was it?
Ignore whatever Nintendo does.
Ignore what they do. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I do ignore what they do half the time anyway. So
Thing is, I think if you want them as a minor faction, you could still incorporate. The thing is, here's the thing though. Like, even while they're different, I still consider the Sheikah and the Sheikah clans as the same entity with different ideal. Ultimately, they're kind of similar,
yeah.
right? But differing agendas. And honestly, that's kind of the impression I even get in Breath of the Wild. It's like there's just Sheikah that like Ganon. There's nothing unique to them really. Right? They're just a bunch of Sheikah that has a different ideology, right?
I mean, their weaponry and architecture is a little different, and their behavior is definitely different than the. But then again, the Sheikah in Breath of the Wild are radically different from the Sheikah in other games too. So I don't know. Yeah, they're just wacky Sheikah, I guess, in that game.
Like, I don't know, maybe those bananas are actually poisonous and they're going crazy.
Actually,
it's like a drug.
Demoko, son of Azathoth, came the closest to answering the Necromancer question. Yes, Eveline is probably as close as we will get to the quote-unquote Supreme Necromancer. She seems to be the source of digging up the dead. I mean, obviously, I would argue that there's probably even more abstract principles above her, but that Eveline's probably the highest we're ever going to get in Nephi canon.
Batiga though, I mean, if you want to wait for Breath of the Wild, that's fine. I just don't think.
I mean, we'll probably, like I said earlier, I'm certain we'll see a trailer for it sometime in the next week or two. So I don't know if they'll show any Yiga in it, but I don't know.
Doesn't even. I mean, they're far off even in the context of Harlem Conquest.
Yeah, I mean, I was considering bumping them up before the Stalfos, but I don't know. My work plans have actually changed quite a lot ever since since EXO got the battalions in and stuff. So I don't know. I'll probably just do the Sheikah and Stalfos next, whenever, as I was originally planning on doing, and then save the Yiga for later. But I'll probably wait and see if they do anything interesting with the Yiga in the next game. I doubt they will, but there's a possibility they might. And even if they don't do a good job with them, they might introduce some things that I can look at them and be like, okay, I can tweak this and that and there. Now they have a full roster of heroes and units. But I mean, I already told you, I have a feeling that they're gonna pretend the Yiga didn't even exist in the new game. They're not even gonna get mentioned, probably.
The thing is, even then, I even if they do show up, I don't think they're gonna be any. I don't think they're gonna be any kind of different from what we've already seen.
You think they'll just be kind of like how the Moblins usually are in most games? They're just like another enemy type with no backstory other than what little there was in the first Breath of the Wild, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
If
they're reoccurring, I literally think they will stick to they are Sheikah, they're humans, or Sheikah humans that are evil, right? I don't think it's gonna be anything.
I mean, part of me feels like at the very least they would be enemies, because it would be very strange for them to not reuse all the models from the first game. But this is Nintendo we're talking about, so I wouldn't be surprised if they don't even have the models like in like Yiga models in the game at all, and they're just gone.
We'll see. I I don't know. I don't think like it will matter to wait.
Yeah. But I might as well wait around and see if they do anything.
Yeah,
because
like
it's not like I have to get the Yiga done tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly right. So,
yeah. So yeah. I think
also,
people are asking about undead stuff now because they're talking about necromancers. I see Yiga and Sheikah and Icona, and I don't know. I see a bunch of stuff in the chat.
quick question though from me.
Sure.
What's up with the cult? Because yeah, you know, one day it's like okay, cult, and then the other day they were a mistake, and then the next day
You mean
cult.
Aghanim?
Yeah, the cult.
Well, they might not be called cult in the end, but I'm just keeping that name for now. But it's just Aghanim and his brainwashed army.
I mean, is the plan still that they're going to fulfill
no.
the goal that Icona had?
No. That was a silly idea.
Yeah.
I knew it was a silly idea at the time, but I held on to it because, again, it kind of like the Yiga thing. It's so far in the future. It's not like I need to decide on it right now.
No.
Yeah. So.
Was a mistake. There you go.
The cult was a mistake. Nah. I've actually I know you've told me don't do it, but I've considered that whole segment, like making it after like it just didn't Termina. But then you're like, no, you can't do that because you already made that cinematic years ago. I'm like, oh crap.
It's not
only that, yeah, like you said with Hylia.
But here's the thing though, I think you can have that scene or that segment of the stories as you planned, but you can still have something in Termina, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you need to axe either one. It's just that okay, so to kind of explain how I'm thinking it would go is that segment in the main game in Hyrule will be the end of the Hyrule story, right?
Yeah.
And Termina will be a more personal story.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So I think you can have similar segments in both, both settings. I don't think you need to cut the Hyrule one and have a Termina one. And I also don't think you need to. You can have both of them because I think they represent different things ultimately. Like Termina is a very kind of personal story, while the segment you'd planned is a more overarching story.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Termina, actually the other night I think I had a really good idea of how to salvage my old mirror thing idea from years ago. Remember how I don't know, I think it was you I talked to you about. I had years ago an idea to like actually make a Nintendo 64 game that was actually a sequel to Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. I was gonna literally make it for a cartridge and have it run on an N64, and I ended up thinking it'd probably be a waste of time, but the concept for the game had to do with flipping back and forth between mirrors and stuff. I think I thought of a way, instead of having Tetra, oh no, it'd probably ruin plans because Tetra would have to not die then. Damn it. Never mind. That idea might end up going back to the dustbin. Basically, Link and Tetra are working through mirrors.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Shit.
So yeah, I don't know, I'll see if I can think of a way to repurpose that.
But without going too much into it with that segment, I still really think you should keep it. I know why you thought it made make more sense, but at the same time I would counter argue that you don't need to cut one to have the other. I think they both could work.
It'd probably be different, but
yeah, it probably would.
Then Hylia would
like
just be like sitting around for a while, and I don't feel comfortable with that, even though she's known for sitting around. So I don't know, maybe that actually would be in character for her.
Yeah, but her entire what leads
Midna deals her such a blow that she just sits around like comatose for like just mentally like fried for like a decade, and then Minda verbally abuses her so badly that it just it makes Hylia go away for another decade.
But I think you can keep the kind of original idea, but you can still have the other. I don't think you need to cut the other one, because I don't think they represent the same thing. Like, I guess thematically you could say that they do, but what it actually represents in terms of the story, I don't think they're.
Yeah.
I don't think they. I think it's basically, again, like I said, it's Hyrule's one of Hyrule's later conclusions, and then you have a different conclusion that is more personal later on in Termina, because Termina is very personal, right? So I think
sort
that's
of,
fine.
yeah.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about it now.
It's like the spoiler of
like,
all spoilers, I guess.
Super brainstorming live. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll probably, before I even get to that point, I'm more likely to remodel Saria like 50 times before I get to that point.
You can never make up your mind.
I can't. I have like this platonic vision of Saria in my mind that I can't manifest because Plato's an asshole.
Like I told
she's never manifested correctly.
I think you can just take the easy way out and just have like all those designs could just be different designs.
I guess.
Different outfits.
I guess so, yeah. Someone's asking if the Minish will be in the game. Yes, they will. They were in Hyrule Total War, actually. They haven't been brought over to the 0 AD to Hyrule Conquest yet, but the Minish were in the old version of the game. Dakon says you're a loser. That is all. Well, he's kind of a loser. He lost horribly. Dakon's kind of a loser, so I guess he's in good company.
Shitty Sage.
What? Yeah, shitty
Sage.
Yeah.
Couldn't even do his job properly. Jesus.
Yep.
What a loser. I mean, do you have anything else to add?
To Dakon?
No, to just in general. I think we could just kind of.
Nah, I didn't really have a topic to begin with. I just like I said, it's been almost 2 months since we've done this, and I've really done anything public. I just kind of wanted to let everyone know that I'm still alive. I mean, if you want to see more activity, become a patron, because I post stuff on the patron Discord like at least every other day. Usually it's small. It's like an image of a model I just finished. Like for the last few weeks, I've made all of the scaffoldings and construction frames for all the buildings. So for like a week, I was just posting those like every day, and then I had to make all the destroyed rubble for all the buildings, and I was posting images of those. But yeah, so
it looks great.
What?
No, the scaffolding looks great.
Oh, yeah.
I can imagine. You can do a lot of fun with that in like campaign maps and stuff.
Yeah. Funnily enough, my favorite scaffoldings are the Hyrulean ones, which is weird because they're like the most generic of all of them. They're like just wooden boxes, like, but I think they look better than all the other ones. I don't know why. Yeah, the Gerudo ones are basically the Hyrulean ones, but with more color on them.
Yeah.
Because they use a different type of wood from their palm trees, and they have the little awnings and stuff to cover them from the sun. So they're a little more colorful and more decorative. But I don't know, for some reason the Hyrulean ones just, I don't know. I don't even know why. I can't articulate it, but the construction frames for the Hyruleans just look impressive, I guess.
Yeah.
There's something impressive compared to the other factions. They don't look nearly as impressive, even though the Goron ones are like this huge freaking iron, this giant iron metal scaffolding, but for some reason just the wooden Hyrulean one looks more impressive to me. I don't even know why.
I like the scaffolding because when you shared the pictures of them, I was like, oh, this will look so cool in like campaign maps.
Yeah. Well, that's how I was thinking about the rubble. When I was looking through the rubble, I'm like, I'm gonna just have maps with just destroyed buildings all over them.
Yeah.
Just a ruined Hyrulean city with like like blown up Hylian buildings, or like Kokiri rubble, probably after the Goma wiped them all out. There's probably like half destroyed Kokiri cities throughout the forest. There'll probably be maps based on that. So yeah, even the rubble, like, you can find use for all of those. So, but yeah, I don't have anything specific on mine to talk about, and I didn't really have anything specific going into it. I kind of left the subjects up to you.
Yeah, no, I guess before we kind of go into Q&A, you could talk a bit how kind of the plan in the future, how you want to kind of release the updates, when can people expect stuff.
Yeah, hopefully like in the next few days I'll be able to show the battalions in action. They're pretty much done. There's just a few I've added the battalions to all the factions, but after testing through them, there's a few tiny little bugs that EXO is trying to fix right now. So as soon as he fixes those, I'll probably do a video, and hopefully that'll be in the next few days. I don't know what his schedule's like right now, but I usually like see him on Saturdays, so hopefully tomorrow I can see what he's up to. But hopefully I'll have a video sometime in the next week or so. But as far as the next release goes, the release will add the battalions to all the factions. The Hylian faction's been completely redone, which I might show that in the battalion video, or I might just make a separate video showing all the new the Hylian stuff that's been changed and added. I mean, you can kind of see bits of it in the Saria's Thought Bubble. You can kind of see destroyed versions of their new buildings. They have a bunch of new buildings. Their units have been reworked, so that'll be in the next version. What other things are we changing? All the buildings have sound effects now, which is something that really should have been done forever ago. All the wonders have their own sound effects, and then all the barracks have a sound effect, all the stables have a sound effect, and then buildings specific to each faction have their own sound effects. What other things? There's a lot. There's a huge list of things we've changed that I'm struggling to think off the top of my head. Oh yeah, the way civil centers work will be changed too. Kind of like Age of Mythology, actually. The way civil centers will work now is exactly like Age of Mythology. The way you build them.
And you finished the unit markers too, right?
Oh yeah. The units all have they all have the little
the footprint.
Yeah, the little footprint. When you select a unit, you know how like a circle, for the audience, like an abstract colored circle will usually appear under them, or a square or a triangle or whatever. I finished all of those. So like infantry are circles, cavalry are triangles, creatures are like a bear's claw, and then like support units are squares, and heroes have like a little rotating golden triangle above them, so you can. That was a request by you, actually. They have like this rotating, glowing golden triangle up in the air above them, so you can kind of see them in like a mass of units.
It will really help like smaller heroes like Tetra. Again, I've lost track of Tetra so many times when I played Hyrule.
Yeah, she'll probably get a bow and arrow, even though I want her to have swords, but it does make sense for her to be an archer hero.
Yeah.
So what else was added? So yeah, the scaffoldings, rubble, building sounds, battalions, unit markers. I know there's more things. Yeah, the civil centers.
I mean, there's the new revamped Hyrule.
Yeah, the Hylian redo. So that's 9 things so far, but I know there's more, but I can't think of them. If EXO is here, he'd probably mention them.
Yeah.
Those are definitely like the biggest ones.
Yeah, the main features.
No new factions, sadly. This next version was basically like a refine all the stuff that's already in the game version.
Yeah. I think that's okay though. You need those patches too.
Yeah, and I'm not sure when it'll be released. Hopefully less than a month.
Yeah. Well, I think covers it really. I think we can move into Q&A, so for a bit.
All right, yeah. If any of you have questions, let's see, what time is it? How long we've been going? Actually, we haven't been going as long as I thought. We haven't even gotten to 2 hours yet. So I'll stick around for like a half hour to 45 minutes, unless you have to go. Then we could leave earlier than that.
I think 30 minutes, half an hour. Yeah, it's good for me.
Yeah. So
So I need. It's kind of late here, and usually it's not a problem, but I need to go to the hospital tomorrow. So.
All right. Well, all right. Then we'll do Q&A for like a half hour and then wrap it up. I don't feel. I haven't looked at the timer once since we started, and I just looked at it and it's like, wow, less than 2 hours. Usually go on for a pretty long time. Anyway.
So, any burning questions? Now's your time. Shoot.
We got one already. Is moblin weapon scavenging been added? Not yet, but I hope so. I hope it'll be added soon. I mean, EXO kind of started working on stealth, so we might see other features follow. I would like to get the weapon scavenging working. That'd be cool.
I mean, I know stealth is a meme, but I think it would be cool, even not just thinking about the Sheikah and stuff, but I like just for the Kokiri, and you know.
Yeah, almost every faction in the game right now has some kind of stealthy unit.
Yeah.
Except the Hyruleans. I think they're the only. Let's see, Hyruleans don't have one. The Gerudo have one. The Gerudo have two actually. The Gorons don't have any, so the Gorons. No, you know what? When Gorons are not moving and they're rolling, they should have stealth when they're just sitting still, like curled up as a rock. So the Gorons should kind of have a stealth unit, maybe.
The thing is, the kind of joke though when they try to look like a rock in the games that it's very obvious.
But they don't look like a rock. Yeah. I'll think about that. Terribly. I'll think about it. I might make the Guardians a kind of stealth unit. The Kokiri have a lot of stealthy units. The Goma have the trapdoor Gomas. Ordana has one. Laneru doesn't have any. Moblins have. I think the Moblins have one. I don't remember what it was though. Darknuts don't have any, although one of their mercenaries is a stealth unit, so I guess that kind of counts. And then Deku Scrubs have a few. Lizzlefoss have quite a few. Labyrinth has one, and the fairies have like 2 or 3. So yeah, almost every faction in the game has one or more stealth units. So even outside of the Sheikah, like, stealth is really important.
Yeah.
So I was really happy when EXO showed me that. Well, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. He's just like, "Hey, stealth maybe," and I'm like, "Holy crap! You actually started on it." It's still a low priority right now, though, so don't expect stealth in the next version, but it'll probably be in the version after that, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then we'll have to find some other gameplay feature to become a meme that's not in the game yet. It'll be the Zora Aqueducts, probably. When will Aqueducts be added? Anyway, let's see what other questions have been asked. Let's see, they have a shore... I don't think the shore sentry is stealth. They can detect stealth units, but I don't think the shore sentry itself is marked as a stealth unit. I mean, to me, it's kind of high. It's kind of hard to hide a naked Zora. It's like the exact opposite of stealth. Oh my god, a naked fish lady's running at me. Doesn't look like we're getting that many questions, actually. This might be a short... Oh, the AI! That was the other thing. There won't be AI for every faction, but EXO for like a year now has been working on completely like redoing the AI from scratch. I knew there was some big thing I forgot. Yeah, the AI. Hopefully we'll have the Gerudo and the Hylians and some of the first factions with his wonderful AI. I've tested his AI too, and I managed to break it with farms. His AI is a lot harder than the 0AD one to beat. But hopefully we'll have I know we'll have like some of the factions then, but I don't think all the factions will have AI in the next release. But
It's a work in progress. I mean, it's a massive endeavor though.
Yeah, I know he's like really proud of the AI too. Like that was one thing he really wanted to do like a year ago, and he's been I mean, he kind of, as far as I understand, he basically finished it a while ago, except for other testing it out, which I tested out as AI. But yeah, that was I knew I forgot something. That's definitely a big thing, is his AI. Just some of the factions are not going to have AI in the next version, so keep that in mind. I know it's annoying to introverted players that don't play online, but they'll be there eventually. But yeah, it actually doesn't look like we're getting that many questions. Guys, ask questions now, or I'm gonna wrap up in a minute or so, because I'm kind of burned out. But I'd be very happy to answer any questions in a Q&A if anyone has any.
Whatever. Doesn't matter what.
Yeah, no one's posting any questions. Unless we're like 2 minutes ahead of everyone. Oh, here we go. Is Ganon's father a big blin, or why is he so massive? Yeah, his father was probably a big blin. His father was very big and his mother wasn't. I guess he takes after his father.
Blin genetics, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't think they make sense.
I know there was a bunch of questions earlier in the stream, but I missed a lot of them because it zoomed by and I couldn't scroll back to them. So I don't know if those people left, but if you guys asked a question earlier and I didn't answer it, and go ahead and put it again. Do I need anything to play the game, or can I download it and go? You'll need 0AD, which is actually completely free. So
yeah,
I'll go ahead and put a link to 0AD, and 0AD as a game is pretty fun too. It's just a free RTS game. It's similar to Age of Empires. Let me go to I'll go ahead and post the 0AD download link in the description. Right there. Okay, now a bunch of questions seem to just all popped up at once.
Good guys, I like this.
Okay. Will Demoko be able to attack as a unit? Yes and no. Does Ben still drown in Hyrule Conquest? I don't know if I have an answer to that one. I haven't even thought about Ben.
Ben always drowns.
Yeah, Ben always drowns. He's a principal for sure. One I haven't heard of in a long time though. Like, I think Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask are old enough to where like they've kind of started to fade from discourse. It's like it's all Breath of the Wild now. Like on all the Zelda discords and stuff I'm at, it's all Breath of the Wild, and occasionally someone will be like, "Hey, remember? Let's talk about these things in Ocarina of Time." It's either Breath of the Wild or really stupid timeline theories. That's basically all the discussion of Zelda is right now.
It's funny that you mentioned that because my girlfriend made a fan art of Ocarina of Time Link, and it got like no attention. And like the week after, she posted Breath of the Wild fan art, and it got a lot of attention.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. And I have to be fair. Ocarina of Time's old. It's almost it's like what 21, 20. It's 24 years old now, I think. 23. It's over 20 years old. So like, I guess it isn't surprising that no one seems to give a shit about Ocarina of Time anymore. But it's just weird because, like, from my perspective, like, it was so, like, prevalent in internet discourse and pop culture for so long that it's just weird that no one seems to talk about it anymore. But I guess it's not that unusual. It happens to everything eventually. It's just I don't like Breath of the Wild, so I feel like I don't really participate in any conversations because I have nothing to say. It's like, oh, I have nothing to say about Mipha. I'm not interested in talking about her or any of these characters. I basically lurk now because anyway. Honestly, it's probably for the better because it's less of a distraction, so I can work on things.
Yeah, that's true.
Someone's asking, is there any new Goma units in this update? There probably will be some changes to Goma units, not in the next update, but when we redo the hero system. But there might actually be some ways that some changes in the way the Goma play to account for the battalion system that I haven't quite finalized yet. I'm waiting for EXO to finish all of his fixes before I decide what to do with the Goma.
You're thinking of the larva and stuff?
Yes. The way the battalion system works kind of necessitates a little bit of a change in the way that the Goma make units that I haven't decided on yet. So the Goma will see a few little changes.
You could cheat and have the larva as a larva cluster, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a kind of cheating, but that's the most the less painful way to fix it.
I have
or to accommodate it. I
have several different ways to change it, and all of them I think are kind of valid, but I haven't decided yet. The Goma will probably get like 2 new units at some point in the future. Sort of. Hopefully that answers that question. Yeah, now there's a freaking ton of questions. There was for 10 minutes there, no one was asking anything. See, does the Happy Mass Salesman play a role in Hyrule Conquest lore? And if so, anything you can talk about? I would say that, the Happy Mass Salesman is in Nephi canon. I don't know if I really want to talk about him, so right now, maybe? I don't know, mate.
Nah, not now. Maybe one day.
Maybe one day I'll talk about him some more. Obviously he's connected to Majora, because why not? Are you going to have Zelda and the Sages fight Hylia? Sort of. Probably not directly in Princess Zelda having a Final Fantasy battle with Hylia, but Zelda and Hylia, their forces fight each other. You don't have Zelda doing flips through the air because realistically Hylia would just torch Princess Zelda in a heartbeat. She'd just be bam, set her on fire. There's nothing she could do. So I don't think we'll see Zelda and Hylia physically beating the crap out of each other, but they do war against each other in the future. Yeah. The sages all get divided too, between each other. Well, not all of them, but yeah. See, was Cold Stare still a thing in Nephi canon? Yeah, Cold Stare was loosely connected to the Analki. So Cold Stare is in Nephi canon, but I wouldn't say he's that big of a thing in Nephi canon. Let's see what else is going on in the questions. I saw more, but see what other deities exist in Hyrule, like the ones from the Lizalfoss and Deku Scrubs. There's a bunch of different deities that different people worship in Hyrule. I mean, the Zora they kind of worship Jabu Jabu. I'm not exactly sure how I'd articulate that. It's kind of like worship, but not exactly. Because they also worship Nehru, and not all of them worship Malkarbagia, just dedicated Zoras do. There's a lot of deities.
The
freaking demons are deities. Their name means clever god. For people in the audience, that is the word demon. It comes from the Greek word. Daimon, Daimon, which just means clever god. That's all the word means.
The dragons are kind of like deities.
For the Zola, yeah. Not everyone worships dragons. In fact, it's very dangerous to worship a dragon. The Rito worship a dragon, which is very ironic considering the Rito world is very organized and central, and it's very it's literally on a mountain. So that is kind of really ironic that they worship a dragon. That's very ironic. Although I guess it kind of makes sense when you know what the dragon's connection to another to tyranny is. Hmm.
I mean, I
Um.
think I think the idea of a deity is kind of what constitutes as a deity is arbitrary, uh, in my opinion. A deity can be anything that is a sort of embodiment of a sphere of something on top of hierarchy or close to the top of a hierarchy.
Well, yeah, a deity is literally your highest principle.
Yeah,
The thing that basically is the not is the origin of your identity. Like, if you let me think of like a lower example, like something material that might help. Like if you worship money, everything about your life will have some connection to money, and like your goals and your motivation, your character, it'll all the origin of the abstract part of your being will come forth from money. If you make money your god. Most people have multiple gods, and they're constantly battling like to be the top of their hierarchy, and that's what demons are. They're a bunch of little principles fighting for your attention, basically. That's what humans like constantly are struggling with. Most people don't even know what they worship. Like, I mean, part of that's just because the world's so material, but
yeah. The point saying it, like the point I was trying to make is that basically it's very difficult to determine what a deity is because it kind of depends on the context you're talking about. I'm under the belief that anything can be a deity.
I agree completely. Well, it has to have. Well, I mean, I was gonna say it has to have some kind of abstract principle, but everything has an abstract principle. Yeah. So it's like that goes like dirt has an abstract principle outside of the dirt.
I can. Here's the thing: a real world reflects that, because if you look around, pretty much everything you can think of has to be in deity. It kind of become a deity at some point. Like, obviously not everything, but there's like very little rhyme and reason to what humans have deified, right?
Well, that's why there's some religious systems that just they assign a representation to like everything possible. Like in Hinduism, like there's a diva and an asura for like everything, and I would say on some level that's true. Like there's obviously an invisible principle for everything. Like, although that probably sounds more like animism when I word it like that. Because I'm kind of implying that it's not necessarily like an intelligence, whereas in Hinduism, like divas and asuras have intelligence, whereas like I would say the spirit of a rock probably doesn't have a semblance of intelligence. Its spirit probably is just as inanimate as the rock.
I think if you want a good example of that, just look at Shinto, really.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not really well versed in Shinto. I only know surface level about it.
Yeah, like there are rules what you can, because deity is a poor term even in Shinto, but there are a lot of things have deity-like aspects, and there's no clearly defined rules as to what that is, right?
Yeah. I mean, in the modern world, deity does have a more specific definition, which I'd actually say is wrong. It has a very material definition. Like, it has to be some supernatural, like, physical being. It's like that's not what a deity is.
Yeah, but I guess
that can be a deity.
Yeah. So I guess to answer the question, there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot in Hyrule.
Yeah, depends on who you ask, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, the bunch of dragons are deities. The Great Deku Tree is basically a deity for the Kokiri. I would say they treat him very much like a god. Obviously, there's the three goddesses. Hylia's a deity. The Darknuts, their leaders are considered deities by them. Most of the people in Hyrule would be like, no, Darknuts aren't gods, but to them they are.
Yeah.
the Tokei are basically animists. Like they worship the spirits of stones. That's funny. I was just talking about stones. So yeah, they worship like inanimate spirits. Those are their gods. So yeah, there's tons of gods, and that's the same in Nintendo canon too. But Nintendo canon's usually like really vague about them. They don't really go into a lot of detail. Even Hylia, there's not a lot of detail for Hylia in Nintendo canon. I'd say Hylia is probably the most, sadly, probably the most fleshed out deity in Nintendo canon. We still don't really know much about her. We just know she's from the sky. She doesn't like demise, and she's connected to the creation of the Master Sword. That's really all we know about. Well, and she supposedly is the origin of Princess Zelda. That's really all we know about her.
Then you can know a lot about her.
Well, yeah. Yeah, the whole the royal family thing. I can see that.
I don't even see Hylia as Hylia anymore. I just see it as Amaterasu.
I would more so say that that's not exactly the case in the context of Hyrule. That's more so Japanese culture influencing her, so to speak. Which makes sense. Yeah. It was made by a bunch of Japanese dudes. Like, it's like, even if I'm not aware of it, like, American culture is going to seep into my work because I'm freaking American and I was raised in that culture. It's part of my psyche, so I'm not surprised weird Japanese stuff would bleed into Zelda, I guess. I think I forgot to keep up with the Q&A. I asked everyone, okay, everyone, Q&A. I think I only answered like 1 or 2 questions.
Yeah, we could take a few more. But yeah, basically lots of gods.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's the last question was what other deities exist in Hyrule? Let's see what the next one is. Do all beings go through Termina, or can you just ascend from the moment you die? Oof.
Ooh.
That's a tough question to answer. What do you mean by ascend?
It's a spicy meatball.
This also probably will set me off on a rant about modernity, but I'm gonna try to avoid it.
Yeah, don't do it. If you don't wanna, if you can't answer quickly, just say a meme.
Well, I have a quick answer, but the quick answer will probably give people the wrong impression. The quick answer is basically what Codeman says: is everyone goes to Termina. Like,
yeah,
that's yes, but no, yes and no. Termina's a lot like Sheol or Hades or Hell. It's if you're dead, that's where you are. Like, your state of being is death. Like, there's no avoiding that.
Good. Actually, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do ideas go to Termina?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, they do. Some ideas come from Termina.
Yeah, there you go.
One very, very, very big idea comes from Terminus, apparently, seemingly. Or is, I don't know, so connected with it that, anyway, spoilers.
Yeah, I know. I was just kind of like, I wanted to make a spicy meatball.
The quick answer to that question is yes, but I'd probably have to go on a big symbolism ramble to explain it and talk about actual like human mythologies to explain what exactly I mean.
I don't know.
Let's see. Anybody here watch Doctor Who? I used to watch Doctor Who, and then I got pretty burned out and sick of it a few years ago, and I haven't watched it since. I stopped watching it right around the time Peter Capaldi became the next Doctor. I watched a few of his episodes, and then I'm like, I'm done with the show. I've seen enough of it. I mean, there's like 800 episodes of Doctor Who, and I've seen almost all of them. There's so much. Like, I've seen even all the old ones. Like, it's just, I'm tired of Doctor Who. I've seen too much of it. Let's see. Lord of Creation asks, do you know of Siren Head or not? I know about sirens. the mythological figure, and then the Siren, which is an offshoot of it. But I have a feeling you're referring to something very specific with Siren Head, so you're gonna have to expand on that. What you mean by Siren Head? And I think that was actually the last question. Oh, here's one. What would even be counted as being in that sense? Would an earthworm be sentenced to Termina? Would a radish? Anything that can die in its state of death is in Termina. Like, you know what, maybe I'll try and let me see if I can think for a minute and see if there's a way I could articulate this in just like a paragraph instead of a ramble. I like my Norse worlds example, so I might go there. Actually, I think I've talked about it on a stream before, so should I just use the Norse worlds as an example? Do you think
we have talked about it before? So yeah, the Norse worlds.
All right, so
quickly.
You have you have to think like let's go back in time to ancient humans when they talk about like worlds, like the Norse worlds, and when they say world, they don't mean like a physical planet that you can fly to in a spaceship or like walk to through a portal. That's not what they mean by world. World is more like a state of being. So you have like the Norse world of Jotunheim, which is the land of the exile and the banished. And if you are exiled, you're in Jotunheim. It doesn't matter if you're in Scandinavia or China. If you become an exile, you exist in Jotunheim, like, because that's your state of being. Likewise, with the Norse world Helheim, when you die or something dies, you're playing the role of being dead. Therefore, you're in hell. Like, that's how it works. That's how Termina works. It's, if you're dead, you're in Termina. Like, that's...
Think about think about everything aspects of what happens in life, and organize those aspects into boxes. And depending on what you are, what kind of state you're in, you fit in neatly into a specific box. That's pretty much it, really.
Yeah. Basically, in ancient cosmology, worlds are roles you play. Like I used Jotunheim as an example. Like if you're playing the role of an exile, if functionally you are an exile, you exist in Jotunheim. Now, the Norse people, they probably based all the imagery of Jotunheim on an actual physical place, like the freaking snowy mountainous wasteland. They probably got all that image based on a specific place, but Jotunheim as a concept transcends the particular place that they got the imagery from. And that's why you see similar things like across tons of different cultures. It's all the same thing. It's just been warped and corrupted by particular cultures. Like in Greek mythology, you have Hades, which is pretty similar to Helheim. They're not exactly the same because the context of the two different cultures has warped the abstract principle that those two worlds are both trying to represent. But now I am going on a tangent. I'm sorry if my answer is not that helpful, but the short answer is yes. If you can die, you go to Termina. And it looks like they extrapolated on the head of Siren. I'm not familiar with some internet monster thing that came out. I'm really familiar with the mythological Siren and Sirens, though. Sirens are actually one of my favorite mythological things.
I know what it's talking about.
Oh, okay. In fact,
it's like
my really obscure original IP that no one gives a shit about is actually all about a siren, technically. Or a siren's like a main character, but anyway. I think that was like one of the... Oh no, someone's asking if I ever played God of War. No, I've actually never played any of the God of War games. I'm very familiar with them. Like I've listened to the soundtracks from them. I know all about the characters and stuff, but I've never actually sat down and played them. Did you see the PS5 reveal? I saw like, I want to say trailers for about 10 or so games for the PS5. I didn't see the actual thing where they showed the system and the new controller, although I saw screenshots of the new controller after the fact. I saw trailers for a few of the games that are coming out on the PS5, and some of them look pretty decent.
It looks like the console. I don't think it looks bad, but the thing is, the only thing that I thought when I saw it was that Elon Musk.
Yeah, it looks like...
Yeah, Elon
exactly.
Musk ate a PlayStation and then he vomited.
Yeah, it has that white and blue aesthetic, that like kind of next step of the iPod look that like all sci-fi has now. Yeah. I completely. Oh yeah, the PS5 question. I saw bits. I basically saw bits and pieces of the PS5 stuff yesterday, but not the whole thing in its entirety. Because frankly, I'm just not interested. This is gonna sound weird, but I don't really like that many video games anymore. Like, I love video games, but my tastes are extremely particular. I basically just play strategy games or variations of strategy games, and that's about it. Like, I almost never play first-person shooters. I almost never play like platformer or adventure games. Like, I've kind of focused my interest on very particular games, and strategy games are rare on consoles. So, the last console I actually played was the Wii U. I haven't played a PS4 or Xbox One or this Nintendo Switch. I haven't played any of those yet. Let's see. If you die in Termina, do you go to Super Termina? Sure. There's always a deeper level of hell, so you can always make things worse. See, Norin is a Norin is a siren. Good job, Codeman. How does that work? Well, this might go off on a tangent. I don't know if Deox has the time.
You die, and it's actually even not a. Calling it Super Termina or Super Hell is actually not a bad way to.
Oh, we're talking about the siren now.
Oh, the siren.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can go. You can go on.
A siren, or more specifically, a siren, is basically another word for them is a bird of paradise. Which, wait, Codeman, I've talked to you about this before. I'm certain I've talked to you about this before, Codeman. Why are you asking that? I know I've talked about sirens with Codeman before at some point. He'll correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, I think that was probably the last question. If someone asks one more question, I'll answer one more question. Otherwise, I'm wrapping it up here. It's been about a half hour.
You can post a link to the Discord again.
Yeah, I'll do that again. Let me go find a link to the Discord. Where is the Discord tab? There it is. Invite. Copy. For those of you that came in later, here's a link to the public Discord. At least I hope it is. Okay, yeah, I knew I talked to Codeman about sirens because the Oka are sirens, and even in Nintendo canon, the Oka, they're sirens, they're sirens. They lead you to the heavens, very literally in that game. It's not even subtle at all. They literally take Link to the skies. I don't know. Maybe I'll talk about Norin on the Discord. I don't know if people in the stream are interested in talking about my my not Zelda stuff. And then, all right. Well, I guess the last question is, when will the next stream happen? I honestly don't know. I really only did this stream because the volume of people asking what the hell happened to me was going up. Like, I honestly wasn't really in the mood to do a live stream for the last like 2 months. I haven't really had any interesting subjects to talk about. I mean, if they show a new trailer for the new Breath of the Wild 2 Boogaloo game in the next week or so, maybe we'll do a stream on that if you want to, Deox.
Sure, I don't mind dissecting.
It really depends. Like if if it's like a really vague trailer with like nothing new in it, I'll just have nothing to say. Like, oh, just looks like Breath of the Wild 2. Pass.
I'll see if I can fit it into my narrative of how Zelda is a glorification and retelling of Imperial Shinto.
Imperial Shinto is.
That's gonna be my magnum opus.
What if they don't show a trailer for like another year? I mean, they did that. They did that with Metroid Prime 4 or whatever. I
don't expect a trailer, to be perfectly honest. But
I'm fully expecting them to show a trailer sometime in June. But I don't know. They might not show one till.
They really should, but I don't expect it because it seems like Nintendo was hit really hard by Corona. For some reason, they can't work from home.
Really? Oh, this is news to me.
Yeah, because we have confirmation that they're not doing any directs.
Okay, well then, yeah, maybe they won't show a trailer for it. Man, that means that game is gonna get delayed. That means by the time that game comes out, we'll have had over a decade of fucking Breath of the Wild. Like, didn't they first show it in like 2013 or? It wasn't that long after Skyward Sword that they started showing the first one, and then it didn't come out till I think 2017. It's already been like what 3 or 4 years, and then probably if they delay it, it'll probably be like another 2 years. So. Breath of the Wild as a cultural thing is gonna be like it's gonna have been around for like a decade. That's weird to me.
Maybe we'll get a trailer, but I don't know. I have this feeling that Nintendo, I don't know. They're fucking weird. Like their corporate culture makes no sense to me, and I have a feeling like they're really struggling to accommodate their workers for Corona. Which is funny because I know a lot of people in the industry have said, yeah, we weren't, our industry weren't affected as much, but it doesn't seem to be the case for Nintendo.
Nintendo's very strange. I will never, ever, ever understand them psychologically as a collective entity. They really do exist in another universe.
I mean, would it surprise you though, considering how eerily supervillain-like they act in their secrecy, that they would limit their workers, limit their ability to work from home because they're so worried about leaks. Like
I guess
to me that seems something like they would do. Like no, you can't work on that until you get into the office.
I've never understood. I've never understood their cartoonish levels of top secrecy. Like I know this will sound negative, and I've said this in a negative way before, but I don't mean it negative right now, but Nintendo makes toys. Why are they so top secret about, like, Mario? Like is Nintendo, like, a front for, like, some, like, super Yakuza operation or something? Are they, like, some laundering, like, scheme, and then, like, their video game division's just, like, a front? Like, Miyamoto's secretly a mobster or something? I don't know. They're so weird. They're, like, so secret about everything. You'd think maybe they're, like, trying to dodge taxes or something. I don't know. I've never understood that.
When people say no, they're not that secretive, and I'm like, name one composer for Zelda that's not Koji Kondo, and no one knows.
Well, another thing is like, I've tried to find information like behind the scenes of them developing games. Like any American or European or even like Capcom, like other Japanese companies, you can find behind the scenes information on how they made things. With Nintendo, you'll be lucky if they release an art book for $39.99 that maybe gives you a little bit of insight into what they were thinking.
And even then, you're only
so
getting maybe like 10% of what they actually have.
Like, we have almost no information on like how some of their games were even made, whereas like you could email someone who works at Bethesda and they'll probably give you like a loose story of like behind the scenes stuff for Fallout 76 or any of their games that has come out. You can find out a bit of history behind it. You can't do that with Nintendo. It's so weird. I don't know why they're like that.
Again,
It's...
I would like, I would like to add that most people, even like diehard fans of Nintendo franchises, they're actually not even aware of the people that are on the project. Like, most people do not know any of the character designers for Zelda. Most people do not know the composers. Most people don't know the level designers, because I don't know, Nintendo just hides them away. It's kind of funny. I know for a fact that a lot of Nintendo artists are not allowed to post stuff on their own professional pages. This is why you don't see Zelda concept art that has not been published by Nintendo, which is weird, because usually concept artists are allowed to share stuff, right?
Yeah.
Or any official art they do, they're allowed to share, but it's all through official channels for Nintendo. It's really weird. So most people are not even aware of who the hell made the character designs for Breath of the Wild? Who the hell made the character designs for, Wind Waker? No, most people
Miyamoto did all of it.
Yeah.
Praise Miyamoto-san.
What a lad. Made all the music, all the levels.
I mean,
all the models.
For years, I always assumed Koji Kondo did the music for Twilight Princess, because in all the YouTube videos it says Koji Kondo did the music for Twilight Princess, and then I found out like a year ago, Koji Kondo did not do the music for Twilight Princess at all. He actually quit doing music for Zelda because of that game. I didn't know any of this until, over a decade after the game came out. Because everyone just assumed it was him that did the music, and they put it in the YouTube videos.
And you can say, it's because they're a Japanese company and the West.
No, that's not the case with Capcom. From Software has behind the scenes stuff. I've never played Nier Automata, and I've seen interviews and behind the scenes. I mean, there are interviews and behind the scenes stuff for some Nintendo things too, but it's always badly translated articles on IGN or something, or a weird little video. But I've seen interviews of the guy who made Nier Automata. You can get behind the scenes information for other Japanese companies, or even Suda 51. And people doubt Suda 51's even a real human being, but there's videos of him oh yeah, I made these weird games, here's the ideas I had.
The thing is, there's more stuff in Japan, right? And that a Western person would get. They have the Nintendo exhibit, and they have the Zelda exhibit. They frequently have the Fire Emblem exhibit, which share stuff that we do not get here. But it's still very the same kind of feeling that,
They basically want to control all their stuff.
Yeah, basically, they're very controlling of their IPs. They're basically Disney of the video game world.
The Disney of the video game. Oh, that's bad sign for me. I mean, yeah, just 5 years ago, they tried to force Let's Players on YouTube to give them money. They're the fucking Yakuza. I mean, they have ties to the Yakuza in the past, so I guess I wouldn't be surprised if they still do, but they operate like a criminal organization. It's so weird. And they have such a family-friendly image, and everyone shits on Electronic Arts, and everyone shits on Bethesda and Activision, rightly so, but no one shits on Nintendo, but Nintendo operates like a fucking mafia. It's so weird. I guess if your logo is bright and colorful and your mascot is a friendly Italian plumber guy, then you can get away with really scummy things. But if you're Electronic Arts and you have a cold, sterile logo of an E and an A, then every little thing you do is under scrutiny by everyone. I guess branding really does make a difference.
I don't think it's. I think they're just super controlling. They're very afraid to lose control of their assets, and I think that's kind of what it ties into. But honestly, Zelda is one of the examples where they're super secretive.
Probably more than any of their other franchises. Although there's nothing on Metroid Prime 4, and Metroid Prime 4 is being made by an American studio.
they're at gunpoint.
Yeah, I know. I'm certain they have tons of contracts that they had to sign. Like, so even studios outside of Japan that are under the umbrella of Nintendo, like nothing gets out even after the game's released. It's honestly kind of impressive that no one leaks anything there. Like, and like even with Super Smash Brothers, there's always the fake character leaks, and none of them are true. But like any other game, like gets leaked like weeks before it comes out.
That was actually kind of thing that I'm kind of curious because Free Houses, someone actually leaked a lot of it, like the plot.
Who?
For Free Houses, someone.
For Fire Emblem.
Yeah. For GameFAQs, some random person leaked huge plot stuff for that game 6 months before it came out. Which is why no one believed it, because the game.
I'm guessing they were fired and then burned at the stake and then gunned down by the Yakuza for that leak.
Apparently, they knew someone on the localization team, and that's how they got all the info. I don't think that's ever gonna happen again.
Not anytime soon. I don't know. Like, I'm honestly like that company is like they're from another planet. They're run by like extraterrestrials. Like Nintendo is literally run by lizard people from some other planet. They're not human the way they operate. It's so weird.
They're run by like rogue AI.
I mean, you can't look at Miyamoto and tell me that he's not half some alien from some other planet. He even looks like not entirely human. There's like something about his mannerisms and his
the way he plays Wii Band and Skyward Sword is certainly.
I remember the Wii music thing. That was the best.
And the Skyward Sword demonstration.
Oh my god,
yeah,
I still remember everyone was like, no, Skyward Sword is gonna be great, just wait, it's gonna be awesome. It's like, no, it's gonna suck ass. And it did. And now everyone hates it a decade later.
Great. I remember watching it and the motion controls didn't work live.
Amazing. Yeah, I still think the Wii music thing with Miyamoto and his little gang was even funnier, because like that was just that was so embarrassing. And then a year and a half after that, Nintendo never came to E3 again. I wonder why. And honestly, it's probably the right thing for them to do.
They lost control.
They lost control. They created their own they created the mechanisms for them to lose control. The Wii. I'm glad it's dead. Huh?
I actually kind of have to go now.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I think that's a good place to wrap up. Anyway, that was a fun little stream. All right, everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Maybe we'll stream soon. Maybe we won't. I don't know if I have a topic, maybe next week. But I've really been in like work mode for the last 2 months, and as fun as these streams sometimes end up being, like it can be a distraction when I'm really trying to get stuff done. So anyway, where's the end stream?
If you're curious about what's going on, again, join the Discord. Lots of stuff happening there.
Public Discord. I'll post the link one more time. And then if you become a patron, you'll see even more stuff going on before I post things publicly. So become a patron. Huh?
Yeah, shameless plug.
Shameless. I like never advertise my Patreon except like the few times I remember. Like,
no,
Huh?
I'll do it. So there is a Patreon Discord, and the Patreon Discord you can Neph there, and you can talk to him. You can ask him stuff. He will also post, work in progress images and stuff. You get more frequent updates of what's going on.
I usually post something new at sometimes every day, but at least every other day. Like I'll post an image of what I'm working on. Sometimes multiple images. It honestly just depends on what I'm working on.
And if you can't do that, then there is the public Discord, and there's lots of people there, and you can still get an idea what's going on, ask questions and whatnot there too. So
Yeah.
it's just not as lucrative.
Alrighty, well, bye everyone. See you next
Bye.
time. Alright, I hit end stream.